I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this? Some kind of magic act?
I never saw so many beautiful-looking machine guns.
This episode of Making That Deck Great Again, you already know we got some replays for you, and again, huge shout out and thank you to my boy CJ, aka Abyssteus, for not only being the architect behind this list, but providing some of these replays. So without further ado, let's hop into replay number 1, which is going to be facing off against the Swordsoul. We all already know this is looking like a pretty tier 1 strategy right now, and it's pretty good to see what this build can do against it. So of course, the P.U.N.K engine is the lifeblood a lot of these different kinds of strategies. We see him go for the Foxy-Tune, gets Ash, but that's cool. We got a backup plan on lock normal summoning the Gearsu and still being able to line up the Scythe Lock on top of that. So the Hulk plus Dagda is the guaranteed Scythe Lock right there. So we're obviously tagging out, we're going for the TG. That gets hit with the Imperm, but this is cheeky. Fairy Tail Snow coming out of here to make sure that Imperm loses its target, so the Scythe is still going to be able to lock it down. When you see your opponent go for an Imperm on a Scythe, you know that it matters for their strategy. So it's very fair for him to kind of hit it off here. Obviously, like I said earlier, it is Swordsoul, so we see him doing standard things with the Mo Yi, but again, all of this isn't going to amount to much considering the fact that he cannot go into his extra deck. So he's just lining up advantage for the next turn. Now here we go, he top decks the Ogre Dance, which is pretty strong here, going to get him another Z-Ammon. And Z-Ammon, of course, is going to be able to get a free search for the Foxy-Tune. Foxy-Tune is a crazy card that just lets you get those free specials, and now since he hasn't already used it yet in his combo, he gets to go for the Chaos Ruler. Mills, big, strong Mills, grabbing himself that nice Nessie, and that is going to get hit, of course, but go for the Jackalope. And then, boom, cool Thunderbird pop, always nice, and then a nice boy named Regulus, and actually uses the P.U.N.K Synchro monster, which is pretty crazy, and we do see some lists actually choosing to play this card nowadays. But look at this, is massive damage, it's going to be absolute obliteration here. Climb to Galatea, shuffle back that World Wand, line up the Babble, and the ding 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 ding, send battle game. Really good, very clean stuff here. Signing into game 2, it looks like our Swordsoul friend's going to go first. Normal summon that Ecclesia. Gets hit with the big Ash Blossom. Massive Ash. The opponent's going to summon Vishuddha, set 2 pass. Thick Harpies. Very nice. Followed up with the normal summon Ding Ding. And then that is going to get hit with the Imperm, unfortunately. But drop what's on tie. He swings in, forgetting that it's halved. And that's all she wrote, baby. So obviously, that was a pretty clean one. We're seeing the advantage of playing all of these hard go second cards and a 60-card list, so it's pretty cool. Let's move on to the next replay. Alright guys, for this next replay, it's looking like our boy CJ lost the die roll, but that's okay. Look at this nice hand, and he is playing against a fellow P.U.N.K deck. This one's looking a bit more on the pure side. I'm not sure if it's pure. There might be some other engines in here. I can't exactly remember, so we're going to find out as he goes through the standard Deer Note, go into the Chaos Ruler, bing bing bong bong, get that thick mill, completely whiffs, so it goes for the Vampire Lord, which is going to let CJ mill off some cards. He does biff a little bit here. I caught it. I don't know if he caught it, but grabs the spell, goes into the hot red, and lines up the Hulk play. This is so cool how the Hulk play facilitates the Scythe Lock once again. It's like, yeah, dude, we didn't even need DPE. Lines. Oh, okay, so yeah, there's the Therions, of course, backing it up, and then Nib and End Phase. Dude, main deck Nibiru right now can be pretty scary. So here's that little biff I was talking about. Could have banished Crescendo to get a free search in the End Phase without any reprimandation, I'm pretty sure. Might have misread the card, but I think that it works. Anyway, he's going to hit the Veiler when he goes for the Jack. It's the free draw into a Nessie. Pretty nice. Going to get a free climb into Hulk. Does get ashed, but goes for the Nessie. Going to cycle into a Sook. Sook effect, basically a free special summon. Pretty cool stuff. And then we're going to climb on up into the Dark Charmer, steal that hot red, and boom, this is literally game. Access code Talker, go in for the business. Going into the next game, CJ's going second again. Look at that gas. Oh, that hand is actually really rough. Got plenty of hand traps, but this hand is absolutely atrocious. Mr. MCR13 is going off doing standard Therion things. Lining things up with the Lily here and the Fum. Getting a search for the field spell. It's going to grab Reggie. There he is. He's going to come on down. Oh, no, we're going Ogre Dance first. Okay, let me get that guy then. Sure thing. And now here comes Reggie. And then our Fusion Boy comes out. Gonna fuse into that guy, tag out like a rescue rabbit. into the Deer Note, get that Chaos Ruler, big mills, baby. Goes for that Vampire guy, mill 4. CJ doesn't get the hottest of mills, unfortunate. But that means that our boy Mr. MCR is just going to keep on climbing. Goes for an Apo here, which I found to be interesting. Oh, that's right, because he's lining up with the hot red. I feel like he spent a lot of card advantage there. It's unfortunate, but since he didn't see a play there, going to have to concede and slide it to Game 3. Game 3 here, strong start, not really. Starting off with the Jet Synchron, but this is a cool thing. Hulk summon Brass Bombard, turn those two into Galatea, and since Jet is a machine, can be shuffled back by Galatea to guarantee a counter trap lockdown. Very cool. Back it up with an anti-spell Fragrance. Very strong. Puts the opponent on lock. Starts things off with the Z-Almond. Z-Almond grab the Foxy Tune. Does get drolled here, which is totally fine because it's not going to matter. Going to go into that Chaos Ruler. You can do it just to get the mills here. Now, he does make a bit of a biff. He does attempt to add it. They notice it in chat, and he's like, oh, yeah, I got to push it out. And he's like, it doesn't even matter. You got it. I'm screwed. So even a simple board like Galatea Pass off of just the Jet is pretty sufficient and pretty strong. What's going on, guys? Logan JYA here. We're back again with one of our favorite series. We're making that deck great again. And what deck are we doing this time? We are doing Orcust in 2022. You might see it on the screen right now, but you're definitely going to stick around for this entire video so you get a real breakdown for this insane 60-card list. Now, I cannot take credit for this list. All credit for this goes to my friend CJ, aka Abyssteus, who's on the line with me right now. CJ, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
Nothing much, bro. Nothing much. You sent this to me earlier today, and I was working, and I had to stop what I was doing to take a look at this because I was like, "What? This looks wild." So there, obviously, in case you guys are hard of seeing, I'm gonna let you know what you're looking at here. We have got Orcust, P.U.N.K, Therion, and it's 60 cards filled with gas, filled with hand traps, filled with dangers, getting dangerous in here. And CJ's going to help us go through this profile. But before we get into the list, any shout-outs you want to give and any things you want to explicitly mention before we get started?
I want to give a shout-out to you, always being the homie G with the recording. Congrats on, what was it, 7th place, I think?
Yes, sir.
Your top 8 recently. That was awesome. And, I mean, yeah, everything you do for your community and community everyone around, like, you do a good job. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, brother. Hey, I'm following in your footsteps. Who topped Edison first? Like, you know, a month back. That's right. That's what I thought.
All right, let's be real. If the Drykoggy was playing Drytron like he should have been, he probably could have changed the outcome. But I was just blessed that day.
Nah, you kicked butt, man. And he's obviously taught me so much about this game, and I can't understate the wonderful impact that our boy Abyssteus, aka CJ, has had on me and on this channel. But without further ado, we're going to hop into this profile. I'm going to go through monsters. We'll pause for questions. There won't be too many about these monster lineups, but there will be some coming on later. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Obviously, we got the one Scythe. Scythe lock is big with this deck. You're going to be doing it pretty often. I mean, obviously, that's one of the main things that the P.U.N.K engine enables. Triple Ash, 1 DD Crow, 1 Danger Bigfoot, triple Nessie, 1 Thunderbird, 1 Jackalope, 1 Tsuchinoko, triple copies of Effect Veiler. We got the 1 Fairy Tale Snow, of course. 60 card list, it makes sense. Then we got 1 Bell, 1 Ogre, triple of our boy Gearsu. You guys already know, you may love him in Mech Knights, you may love him in Orcust. He always be serving his purpose. The 1 Gizmech, an absolute classic right here. Jet Synchron, recently released from the ban list. Triple copies of the Nibiru. 1 of the Deer Note, triple Foxy Tune, 1 of the Ogre Dance, 2 of the Z-Ammons, 1 of the Brass Bombard, 1 of the Symbol Skelly, triple copies of Orcust Nightmare, triple copies of the Tenny Spirit Adhara, triple copies of Regulus, of course, King Reggie, and then we got the 1 World Legacy World 1. So one thing I want to pause on and ask about first, before we start talking about the Orcust stuff, we've got the Tenny Spirit Adhara in here. Is this just as a free extender to climb into the Hulk package?
So, sort of, it is a level 1 tuner that is a free body that hits the field. But it also comes up because, since you are playing the Dangers, one of the most important ones is Nessie being a level 7. So, Arehara plus Nessie, if your hand is weak, can get you in the Chaos Ruler, and it can help you build your Blaze.
And would you say that Chaos Ruler is kind of like a monumental piece in this particular build?
I think outside of Scythe and Jet Synchron, Chaos Ruler is another crazy card that should not be here.
That's fair. This card is insane, bro. I remember when this card was printed, it came out, it was like $5 or $6. I'm like, bro, we need millions of copies of this card. This thing is insane. But
there was nothing to really utilize it really well. And I mean, we got the P.U.N.K cards, and thanks to YuGiOh coming out, I mean, it gives us everything. Like,
facts.
it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, I want to talk briefly about our Orcust ratios here, right? So, tell me a little bit about why we're playing this guy here, the Brass Bombard. I know, but please explain it for the people who are watching.
So, it has Orcust in its name, which obviously you're playing Orcust. It helps you get into your Galatea. It is a dark level 1 machine tuner, so you can summon it off Hulk if you need. A lot of the times I find myself not really using my normal summon. That's why I kind of put Gear Suit 3 as well. But just in case, on the off chance, if I can make my Scythe Dagda without using like Jet Synchron, or if I open Jet Synchron, I'll usually or get to the Brass Bombard from the Hulk, and then it lets me like play Orcust with my full combo. I mean, also it being an Orcust does come up that you could just beam out from the deck because, I mean, Hardcore is banned, so I kind of have to make do with what I got, and he's what I got, so no complaints.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now, we'll hop on from there. You know, one more question while we're on here. I won't talk too much about the hand traps here, because obviously if you guys took a peek into the side deck, you'll see why there are so many, but the one-ofs, but what would you say is the most high impact hand trap that you're playing in this particular build? Like the one that you're always feeling safe when you see it?
So, you're right, I am playing 15 hand traps to 3, but I mean, all my 3 of hand traps are all big, because at some point, if I'm playing against the mirror match, I mean, I'm usually banking on them not opening great, but any one of these hand traps has a big impact, like imperming maybe a Xiamen. You can imperm pretty much anything that's like a big threat. It gets good against the branded deck. Same thing with Effect Failure. It's pretty much 6 copies of the card. Nibiru can be just a blowout, especially against the mirror match if they're playing like P.U.N.K Adventure or whatever. But those 4, any combination of the 2 usually cracks any board.
Right. So we're going with the logic of, you know, 2 hand traps should ensure that you're Bing chilling.
And then the one-up hand traps, you have Crow, Bell, Ogre. Yes, they are for crossout. If I could play 70, 80 cards, I probably would. I'll be completely honest with you. But these 3 hand traps are being seen for the most part. I mean, Ghost Bell really isn't, but Ghost Bell is also kind of that sleeper card that kind of, you don't appreciate it, and it hits you, and you're just like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. Same thing with Ogre and Crow. And all 3 of those can really screw up my deck, and I don't want that to happen whatsoever, so.
Gotta stay ready. Now from there, let's move on to the spells. I'm going to keep it brief. We got the Call By, Triple E-Telly, the Absolute Demon card. This card should not be at 3. I'm going to be transparent in my opinion about this. That card coming to 3 is a mistake. That card is absolutely ridiculous. I'm just going to put it out there. And then we got, what is this? The Endless Engine aggro system. And I'll definitely ask you about that one, but you have explained it to me before. We got the 1 copy of the Foolish Burial, 2 copies of Forbidden Droplets, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 of the beautiful Orchestrated Babble, and then the 1 Therion Disc Coliseum. So, let's talk about this Endless Engine card for those of the uninitiated type when it comes to the Therion decks. Could you explain this choice for me real quick?
So this card is pretty much a Foolish Burial. Its first effect is the Foolish Burial. You can send 1 Therion card from your deck to your graveyard. And then it has another effect, which a lot of people like who aren't really familiar with this because it did just come out in the new set. If this card is in your graveyard, you could target any Therion card in your graveyard, which means my 2 targets would be the Field Spell, which you can target, which is a valid target, and Regulus. You can target one of those, return either the Endless Engine to your hand, or one of the targets, and then shuffle the other into the or put the other to the bottom of the deck. So it like recycles. Another weird thing that has come up to me, because I mean, Dueling Book is full of crazy people, is I played a Mystic Mine deck, and I ended up getting rid of all 3 of his burn cards, and he tried decking me out. And with Endless Aggro Engine, you cannot deck out. Fun fact.
Right. So for our Drytron friends, well, listen, we got to give a shout out to Orcust, right? Because look at these homies. We got a lot of machines in here, all right? And listen, machines are our brethrens. Although all of our homies are light machines, we got to pay respect to the Orcust who are also part of our camp. But yeah, it's similar to what Justin Singh was doing with Ritual Sanctuary to counter the Mystic Mind strategy. It's a similar deal. You can shuffle back cards infinitely, ensure that you can't be decked out. So very, very good point, good strategy, good idea to be ready for. Moving on from there, we've got the trap cards. I don't think there's anything to explain here. We got triple Imperm and then the one Orcust Crescendo. Crescendo is such a cool card, dude. I absolutely love this card. I just wanted to rave about it for a second. For those of you who don't know, like before I was really getting back into creating content, I played Orcust for a while, and I love this deck, and I love the archetype, so it's cool to see CJ bringing it back to life for us.
It's funny that you actually like this card a lot, because this is one of the reasons why I decided to play the Orcust as well, because when you have Scythe Lock on field, as in House Dagda, Orcust Crescendo is a counter trap. There's hardly anything that could really kind of deal with it going second. I mean, obviously Twin Twister and all other stuff can bait it out, but if they have like Dark Ruler, it stops Dark Ruler. If they have Droplet, they better have a trap. It fills in the blank where all the cards like Dark Ruler and Droplet beat this deck or beat the Scythe Lock. This card answers it, and that's why I think it's good. Also, the Orcust cards are just kind of cool, like as you were saying before.
Absolutely. And one thing I gotta say, again, to shout out to my Drytron brethren, it's very similar to what we're doing with the Magic-y lock, backing up things like a Scythe Lock or a Vanity's Ruler. It's a similar strategy here. And frankly, I think the deck's playstyles are very similar. Some could even argue that Orcust are a precursor to Drytron for how they play out of the graveyard. They're all machines, they generate advantage from playing out of the graveyard, and they enable link plays like Drytron's enable ritual plays. So it's just a cool thing that I thought was worth mentioning. So that's it for the trap lineup and the main deck as a whole. Let's slide on into the side deck, and we can go from there. So starting things off...
You'll appreciate. Orcust is just Drytron that went to the dark side. Shout out to Star Wars.
Very fair point. And they're also Drytrons that they played instruments. Anyway, we'll hop on into the side deck. We've got the one copy of the Necroworld Banshee, the one token collector, triple copies of the Crossout Designator, triple copies of the Dark Ruler No More, triple copies of the Twin Twisters, of course, one Zombie World, triple copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. So, I wanted to kind of just talk quickly about the Token Collector, the Necroworld Banshee, and the Zombie World. So I know what that package is for. Obviously the counters to Flunder and Swordsoul respectively, but how are you accessing them? I know you talked about a previous option that you were trying, but if you wouldn't mind talking about that for a sec, that'd be great.
So, I mean, Zombie World is a blowout against Flunder, and, I mean, it's decent against the Swordsoul. It makes them play very awkward, but, usually, if I access it, it's just Chaos Ruler. I better mill it, or I have Foolish Burial. It's just one of those cards where it's like, if I see it in my hand and I have combo, it's something I can discard, knowing that I feel good about discarding it. Because that's the one thing I've noticed about this deck is like, there's so many good cards. As you know, that's why we're at 60. There's so many good cards in this deck. It's like you have to kind of figure out and piece together like, what card do I want to use now, and that's. It's a big brain deck trying to think of like what to do in certain situations, how to play around cards, and it's just one of those things that it lets me feel comfortable sending it to the graveyard, knowing I have it for the matchup. And if I see it off Chaos Ruler, I see it. I guess I'm just talented.
Very true. Well, I mean, and it's not the worst thing to consider. I mean, you're going 5 cards deep, right? So it's not, if you hit it, great. If not the end of the world. There's so many good things you can hit here. We've got Nightmares, we've got Symbol Skellies, we've got all that good stuff. Gizmek, Jet Synchron, Gearsu, all things that you don't really mind milling. So obviously, Chaos Ruler just a demon card. On that note, let's slide on into the extra. You know what? Actually, one quick shout out to Crossout Designator. There's nobody in the universe that I know who takes better advantage of Crossout than my boy CJ. Like, I swear to goodness, man. And I just want to tell this story real quick. I was walking by at the most recent Edison Regionals, and I just see this man with the utmost confidence flip up that Crossout Designator in response to a hand trap, and I was just like, whew, we're cooking. Or was it even? I can't even remember. You want to? What was it again?
He had one card in hand, and I didn't know what it was, and I had a Crossout Designator set. I activated Branded Fusion, so that's what I was playing for the regional. He goes Ash, and I flipped it over in about half a second. And I said, that's going to be game, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, on that note, let's swing into the extra deck to bring this profile to a close. We got the 1 copy of Baron, the 1 Chaos Ruler, the 1 TG Wonder Magician, and the 1 I'm not going to try and pronounce it. The Amazing Dragon. Look at how amazing he is. Isn't he the greatest? We've got the 1 Gearsu, Ding Gearsu, that is. 1 Access Code Talker, 1 Dagda, 1 Hulk, 1 of the Dark. We're playing 2 Galatea, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Unicorn to pair along with it, 1 Link Karibo, and then the 1 beautiful Celine, the $40 Celine, if you guys can believe it right now. But yeah, that is the extra deck, and honestly, I'm just looking at this right now, you know. I have a quick question because this is just my ignorance when it comes to the P.U.N.K strategy. Could you mind explaining the Amazing Dragon a little bit more and how it contributes to the strategy?
So, what this card says, first of all, it's generic. It's 1 tuner, non-tuner, and it's a level 11. It says, if this card is synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters with different names you control and in your graveyard. So, I know Boxia is really good in the Swordsoul deck, so this is kind of my Boxia, if you want to kind of compare the two. This is my own Boxia. And it's really weird because it gets around cards like there can be only one because they're all different types and attributes for the most part. Yeah, attributes as well, except for I think YuGiOh and the Diamond. But he's kind of just the answer that just says I'm forcing a response at the moment of he's summoned. He also has another effect that says you can target 1 P.U.N.K monster in your graveyard except himself, and then special summon, and then I get special summon it. So bringing back a Foxy Tune, which is a big beater, YuGiOh, Diamond to combo into like Hulk if I need to. He's just a really strong utility card. Like he's very, very underestimated, and he can be very overwhelming if they don't respect this card.
Gotcha, makes sense. Also, looking at that artwork, that guy's looking pretty darn gorgeous. Gotta say, that is a really cool looking card. So, outside of that in the extra deck, I see we're playing Dark here. How often does this come up for you? Would you consider changing this slot, or are you thinking, nah, this is a keeper?
So, I kept trying to figure out ways, because the one issue that I see sometimes is that this deck will have to go over 5 summons to pretty much, like, end that game. And Dark, because you're playing the Orcust and there's a lot of dark targets that you have access to, Dark being a spellcaster allows you to go into your Celine and Link Climb. I know there's not a lot of spells, so trying to get the spells in the graveyard isn't really like you're mainly relying on your opponent, so it comes up like if you see like they have like 3 spells or there's plenty of spells like in the pool between both graveyards, like I could go into Celine access code and then this is where the Gizmek comes up as well, because you can have access to him. And access code with 3 materials and Gizmek most of the time is game, because it's 7750, and usually you can do damage prior to that.
Gotcha. And I also just want to flag something real quick here, and just as a fair warning for anyone who's trying to play this deck, don't forget that the Orcust monsters, similar to the Rockets, will lock you into the darks. So you got to be careful with that when you're playing this deck, and be strategic in your summons.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that in one of the replays that I had. I did my whole combo and I summoned Regulus, but it didn't matter. He just kind of scooped because he didn't have a hand trap, so he couldn't be like I had crescendo everything. But I misplayed with the Regulus. I mean, Regulus is an Earth, because he was a dark. It probably would be banned already. Demon.
I gotta say though, so like, you know, when you're going for the regular stuff, you kind of want to lock and load it pretty early, right, to kind of defend you from things like nib and hand traps. But if you see it later, then you tack it onto the end board as an additional negate if you're not dark locked, correct?
Exactly. So the Regulus comes up usually whenever you see it, it'll come up, because I mean Jet Synchron's a machine, all your Orcusts are a machine, Gearsu is obviously one of the Orcusts. Some of your extra deck cards, like there are times where I've been Nibiru'd. Like I let them Nibiru at end of main phase because I was reading the Nib in hand. I would summon the Regulus, use it as a Hulk, and then play Orcust from there, which still ends on 2 interrupts with maybe having cards in hand.
Right. Got it.
And it's a level 8, which, I mean, making Think Gear is pretty good, I heard.
And the one final thing I want to flag before we bring this to a close, this is something else you brought to my attention, which I thought was the coolest thing. You can shuffle back the Jet Synchron off of Galatea to get your set after it banishes itself, which I think is just awesome. I don't know, I just wanted to say that I think that's really flipping cool.
Correct. You can also shuffle back Hulk after you banish.
Yo, look, the boy's a machine too, so you get to reuse Hulk. Oh my goodness. That is crazy.
「心の隙間埋め